What's up, YouTube? KS Gun Guy here. Thanks for joining me today, as always. If you like what you see here, do be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And there's plenty more content on the way. So I've got in front of you a Springfield Armory Range Officer 9mm. So if you've seen any of my other recent videos, I've started to explore at least a little bit the world of 1911s, or at least that manual of arms. And at the end of the day, I am more of a polymer striker-fired kind of shooter, and I do enjoy those. However, there's something to be said for great 1911s. First of all, I think their form is absolutely fantastic. I think they're beautiful firearms, and they certainly have an amazing legacy to them. But for me, I do prefer the 9mm caliber. It's just what I prefer, and as I'm getting older, and I just prefer it. It's a little bit more fun for me. That said, when you start getting into the 1911 platform, you start getting into heavier firearms, and so the heavier firearms, of course, are going to lead to softer recoil and that sort of thing, even in a 40 or 45 caliber. But again, coming back to the 9mm, it's just kind of my preferred round. And then, of course, there's a cost savings as well. And anymore, there are quite a few manufacturers that are producing good quality 1911 9mm, and Springfield Armory is one of them. They've got several choices out there. I just recently did a video on the EMP 3-inch, and it has become one of my favorite guns. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. So I really wanted to see what else Springfield offers. I did briefly show this gun in another video, a Sig Sauer Tac Ops 45, and just kind of comparing it, because this gun is based a little bit more on the GI type of 1911 that goes all the way back to World War I and World War II. However, there are definitely some differences between those old GI models and something like this. Namely, things like the rail for lights, lasers, grenade launchers, things like that. It does have front slide serrations, which most classic 1911s that really are traditionally GI models usually don't have. Some do, but generally speaking, they don't, especially as you look back to old Colt 45s and old Remingtons, that sort of thing. They generally don't. So this does have some upgraded features, and some other features about this gun. And again, it is unloaded, of course. I do have a magazine in here, but I just prefer to have one, but I always keep it unloaded for these videos. But some other features of this firearm, it by and large is going to share features with a lot of your common Series 70 911s. And Series 70 really means just there's no firing pin block in here. So that leads to, some would say, and I would never get in the argument of which is better, which is worse. Frankly, I don't have the experience to be able to really tell that much. But some would say that maybe a Series 70 is a little bit lighter in the trigger, that sort of thing. You know, your mileage may vary on that. Again, I don't really get into that debate quite so much. But other than the rail, the front serrations, the operation is basically the same. You're going to have your beaver tail, your grip safety beaver tail here, and this will help let you get your hand pretty high up on the frame, but still prevent any slide bite as the slide goes through its action. It does have safety, however, it's not ambidextrous, but it's a nice paddle. And when I shoot 1911s, I'm right-handed, of course, and I do have a left-hand thumb forward. However, my right thumb, I actually rest on the safety. I prefer that because then I can really tell if it's engaged or not. And it's a little bit more comfortable, and I feel like I can control the gun a little bit more. So that's kind of how I handle this. It does have a skeletonized trigger that is adjustable for over travel, and it does have a skeletonized hammer as well. From a sight standpoint, it does have Novak-style sights in the rear and then a fiber optic front. And if you can see here, I'll kind of try and line this up as best I can. There you go, there's your sight picture right there. It is a 3-dot style, so you do have the dots in the back, and it's not serrated for glare, although it does kind of wrap around a little bit, so I don't think glare is going to be too much of an issue. I would be okay with this not having the back dots. I'd be okay with this being blacked out and just going with the fiber optic, because I think this gun is really more designed for maybe competition to one degree or another, or range use. I don't think this would necessarily be a first choice for many people, maybe for carry, although you could, certainly, if you're into 1911s and you want to carry, I think that would be okay. But generally speaking, this would be more a range firearm or competition firearm. So as far as the fit and finish on this goes, of course, it is a Parkerized finish, and it's pretty tightly finished. From what I understand from Springfield Armory, what I've been reading on their website, and some other very detailed reviews in different publications, that this was modeled after the TRP, or Tactical Response Pistol, Springfield's kind of top tier 1911. So the tolerances are very similar to that, which is kind of nice. And then when you get into the 9mm platform, rather, you've got a reasonably tight firearm that has a very soft recoil. And I will tell you, when you go to the range and you shoot a gun like this, it really does have an exceptionally soft recoil, such that it almost takes you a little bit by surprise. Each time I've been to the range with this, and I think I've taken it 3 times now, I've always had other guns that I've been testing, like the Canik TP9 SF Elite, a Colt Defender, which I'll be bringing in over the next few weeks, and so pretty radically different firearms. And when you switch from different firearms, especially when they're pretty different, certainly in weight and in feel and in operation, one gun could potentially take you by surprise over another gun, and this one definitely does, just by the way of its mechanics and how it operates, because you would almost expect it to be a little bit bigger in terms of its muzzle flip and its recoil than it really is. So it's really a delightful shooter, and you could definitely shoot something like this all day long at the range, which is really nice. So a couple of other quick specs just to get out of the way. The overall length on this is 8.6 inches, and the height is 5.5 inches. The barrel is going to be a 5-inch match grade barrel, which is kind of nice. The weight on it is 41 ounces, so it's kind of your average 1911 weight there. Again, the Parkerized finish on the forged steel, both the frame and the slide. It does come with 2 9-round magazines. One thing, the EMP that I featured before came with 3 magazines, which was really nice, although the EMP was definitely more expensive. Unfortunately, this one only came with 2, and I know Springfield is running a sale right now. Sadly, I bought this pre-sale, but if you are really interested in something like this, now may be the time to grab various Springfield guns, just because they've got a great sale going on. You get some extra magazines and holsters and mag pouches if it doesn't already come with the gun, and who knows what else, maybe some other swag as well. So that's kind of nice. But either way, 2 magazines for me for kind of a range gun is just fine. That doesn't bother me a bit. Now, as far as the original grips on this, it does come with kind of your standard Springfield grips, and I think it's Cocobolo grips, actually, with the Springfield logo, and I like them. They look very nice. They're very tasteful, but they're a little bit slick for me. So I've opted to do a custom grip. And if you've seen my EMP video, or actually a video specifically on these grips, these are actually made by Stoner CNC, and these are a blue and black slash and burn grip, and I love these. These are kind of a medium aggressive grip, a G10 material. Grip, and Matt at Stoner Grips does a great job. So if you get an opportunity, check out Stoner CNC if you're in the market for grips for almost any gun out there. And there is a coupon code for KS Gun Guides, 5% off that. So be sure to check that out and check out the video on those grips for more detailed information. So anyway, so that's kind of the basic rundown of the firearm. Let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit of shooting at the range and see how this does. All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. So a couple of other quick features about the Range Officer 9mm. It does have a beveled magwell, which is nice, so that does make for easier feeding of magazines. And I do find that the magazines from Springfield do a great job of feeding in and out. I know that that some 1911 style magazines, there can be issues with bulging or bubbling in the magazines, which can make that a little bit more difficult to get in. The Springfields, at least mine so far, I haven't had that experience, which is nice. As far as your disassembly of the firearm, it does have your standard barrel bushing on this. I'm not going to take it apart on this video. If you want to see me disassemble a 1911 or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment. I may do a video about that, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to in this one anyway. So it does not have a full-length guide rod. So again, I'm not a 1911 expert, so I don't get into the debate whether a full-length or GI model guide rod is better or worse. But that's what this happens to have on it. So it's that style of operation. But again, the fit of this gun is reasonably tight. Not so tight that it's difficult to take apart or maintain. It's definitely shootable. It is very accurate, and again, if you're shooting a variety of firearms, a 9mm 1911 can, like I said before, take you a little bit by surprise with how soft it really is, and it could be a little bit shocking at first, but then you kind of settle down, and it really is a delight to shoot. And I think Springfield did a really good job with this, just as they've done with a lot of their other firearms. Certainly the ones that I've featured on this channel, whether it be polymer or 1911 style. But their care and their firearms seems to be really good. So it's really a good value for the money. And speaking of money, this is going to be a sub $1,000 1911, which is really nice. In fact, if you look around, you can really find them sub 900, and perhaps before taxes or shipping or anything, you might be able to find them sub 800, which is kind of nice. So they're going to fall a little bit below maybe an EMP 3 or 4 inch or some of the other 1911s that they offer. But in terms of 1911 value, I would definitely call this a very good quality value 1911. Of course, and I've mentioned this before in my SIG TAC Ops video, that 1911s really range anywhere from the $400 or $500 for the very entry level 1911s. Not saying those are bad or good, but they can, you can really spiral out of control and get beautiful custom 1911s that are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, depending on what you want and who's making them, and if it's all hand fitted and that sort of thing, which is great. More power to you there. It's not really an interest to me, at least at this point in time, and I'm not as much of a 1911 enthusiast as perhaps some people are. Although, again, like I said before, I do like them. I definitely have a place in my heart for 1911s. First gun I ever shot was a 1911, and so I will hopefully always own at least one. And right now, this is the full-size 1911 in the collection, and I think it's definitely, again, worth it. It's a great value and a lot of fun to shoot at the range, easy to care for, and I think reasonably good quality. Again, not like Ed Brown or Nighthawk custom quality, but still, for the money, they did a great job, which is nice. And I like the addition of the Stoner CNC grips. I think that adds a little pop to it, and also a little bit more grippiness as well. So I'd love to know what you think. If you've got a Springfield 1911 9mm or another 1911 9mm that you've had some experiences with, please do share those. Love to read the comments and see what people have to say about these firearms. So I'm excited to hear about that. And once again, thanks so much for joining me today. This is KS Gun Guy, and I will see you next time. Thanks.